You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we call it the Master Blaster Jamming. Rastafari Summit, Part 2. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, and she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times, and a half a time on the face of the serpent. Eagle here represents spacecraft. The eagle has landed. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. Revelations 12, Rastafari Summit, Part 2. The Bible is its own interpreter. One has to possess the crystal skull. Revelations 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. The woman in this chapter symbolizes 2 things. One being Venus, the other the congregation of God, covenant, Israel, children of the light, or the chosen few. The congregation of God is often symbolized as a woman who is betrothed to God. Venus is that woman clothed with the sun. This is the Venus-Sun transit of 6th month, 6th day, 2012, of the 6th hour. And the moon under her feet, the moon, earth, sun, Venus, and Elanine will be in alignment this day. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Yes, I. We must note that it was in the year 1331 BC, the Anunnaki, then in Central America, that is to say, for it is written that Olmec Maya started their long count calendar when they saw Venus tilt on her axis, somewhat like the Earth is in process of doing now. So the final transit of Venus is a sign of the times. We know that a crown is symbolized, it is a symbol, or it is symbolic of royalty. And we use the 12 houses of the zodiac to measure and calculate time. As a matter of fact, all the stars, the lights of the heavens, is that we find our way in the darkness. The moon, or light of, is as a lamp unto our feet. Verse 2, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. We can see the symbolism of the sun in its roundness, and Venus, a little dot on the sun, reminds us of the breast of the mother doing nursing her baby after it is delivered. But how long has it been since the African-American slave, how long has it been since African-American slavery we have waited to be delivered? We now in our pain cry out in joy for our deliverance, as symbolized as signs of the heavens, for we are the day keepers, the Chilam Balaam, Jaguar priest, or interpreter Jaguar. Verse 3 of chapter 12, and there appeared another wonder in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads, and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. This word is like a magic crystal. The dragon is symbol of the CME, coronal mass ejections, emanating from the sun. Now, the Venus-Sun transit of 2004 what's called the G8 summit was held at Sea Island, Georgia. This was a secret meeting of heads of state, presidents, kings, rulers, movers of the world, governments, etc. Used to be the G7, the 7 heads, the 10 horns, cabinet members, etc. Remember, when we think of the beast, we think of Ronald Wilson Reagan. That come to mind, doesn't it? He passed away 3 days before or after the summit. I'm not quite sure. This was the same time the Venus-Sun transit. The horns also mean instruments of the 12 messengers or the disciples of Christ. Verse 4. And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them down to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Here we see a few things taking place. On 12/21/2012, we see people gathered at sacred spots, anticipating to reflect incoming CME with sound vibration, and before that, waiting and playing upon instruments, chanting out to be delivered before that awful date of disaster, when the tail of another dragon, this time Nibiru, shipwrecks heaven and earth. We're also the children waiting to be born, a way to the safety of the Anunnaki upon whatever ship they have awaits us. Verse 5, and she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. These verses reveal the King of Kings, Haile Selassie, and his subjects, his true family, the Rastafari. As it was written, we cried out unto the Lord of time as one, and the Lord remembered the covenant, and he delivered us from the destruction of the earth in time. Verse 6 of chapter 12, book of Revelations. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared for her of God. And they should feed her and they should feed her there 1,260 days. As it has been written, the Lord of the Hopi, i.e., as it has been written, the land of the Hopi, or the Four Corners area, the area of the crossing, was prepared by God, that the children of light retreat in the final hour. When we see the final transit of Venus and the Sun, it's the sign to head for the wilderness, the hills, the mountains. Run, it's helter-skelter time. Everything is right on, says the twin boys from the Popol Vuh, Charles Manson and Trayvon Martin on the one, and you are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. I am your brother, the Rastafari, Aitor, Ayman I. Yes, sir.